Let me ask you, how much time do you spend thinking about money? Not just making it, but actually keeping it. Most people work their whole lives only to end up wondering if they'll have enough to last. But what if you could create income that never runs out without ever risking a dime? Hey everyone, you're watching Seizing Your Greatness, and I'm your host, Julianne Meyer. And today we're talking about something that affects every single one of us: money. More specifically, how to build real financial security without stress, fear, or guesswork. And I can't think of anyone better to have this conversation with than Kris Miller, the Money Maestro. She's a legacy wealth strategist who's helped over 6,000 families and businesses avoid financial disaster. And here's the kicker: not a single one has ever lost a dime in market risk. She's also the #1 best-selling author of Ready for Pretirement: 3 Secrets for Safe Money and a Fabulous Future. And she's trained major companies like Citibank on how to create financial security that lasts. So if you've ever worried about money, if it'll last, if you're making the right moves, or if there's a smarter way to build wealth, you're in the right place. Let's welcome Kris to the show. Welcome. How
All
are you?
right, Julianne, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So excited to have this conversation. I'm so glad that a
Too.
friend of ours introduced us and that
Yes.
we are finally making this happen.
Yay. I love it. Yes.
So, you've earned this title and this moniker, the Money Maestro, which I think is really fun because it is kind of musical. It's a dance. It doesn't have to be scary, but it is for so many people. And let's just dive right in.
Right.
I'm curious, what is one thing that you wish people wouldn't fear when it comes to money?
Well, they actually, the fear, it seems like it's instilled with everybody because they're always worried that they're going to run out. And it's an unconscious fear. It's not even, I'm going to run out, because the way the insecurity and the volatility and what's going on the planet right now, it's bumpy times. And so is it going to last? Am I going to get wiped out with the taxes, the inflation, medical bills? It's really like an underlying negative song that goes in all of our brains, really.
No, it absolutely is. And I just like, if people go to your website, if people go to your social media and they find you, it's just how you use a play on words. It's like, I don't know, it just makes it seem like this could be more of fun and a game versus something that needs to be feared. And, like you said, it's kind of ingrained in there, but most people aren't even aware that they have these fears. So how do people start to actually see that in themselves? Because I feel like acknowledgement is the first step.
That's exactly right. And so that's a super question because it positions exactly how I started with healthy money, happy life. Now, money is not going to give, that's not the end all be all. That's not the happy. The happy comes from your own joy within. But when you have money and you know that it's safe and you're not going to lose it when the market tanks again, that gives you a peace of mind. And there's a freedom there knowing I'm covered. I have a paycheck coming to my every month, right? And so it's healthy money, happy life, knowing all your affairs are in order. And there's 3 things that we focus on in that. And and because I've done this so long, it's not that I'm so smart. It's just that I've talked to so many people and I saw patterns around year 25. I've done this 35 years. So around year 25, I was like, what is going on here? All these people were coming in. I do estate planning. I've made over 6,000 living trusts, and they'd come in to do their retirement plan when they were retiring. Like, what? What's going on here? Well, why? Instead of being so judgmental and arrogant, I look, whoa, there is a real sickness here because you go to school, you learn how to make money, you get out of school. What do? You go make money and give it to some guy to gamble. And then in the 3rd and 4th quarter of your life, it's this roulette wheel. Is it going to be there or not when I'm there? And you keep like even consciously thinking like, is a war going to happen? Is it inflation or the this or the that? And so much coming at us right now. I wanted to have peace of mind. And when I lost money in the beginning, I went, wait a minute, they're not teaching me everything. There's right. Some of these things that I've been doing, have been around since the Middle Ages, but
Mm.
the wealthy people know about it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make it easy for the average person to understand this and take the secrets of the 1% and give it to the 99.
I love that because, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not a secret per se, but what you don't know, and you can't change it if you're not
Right.
aware.
Exactly. Nobody talks about it.
No, it makes
Yeah.
me think of even high school too. I mean, I think that the most important thing I learned, besides balancing a checkbook, which I don't even do that anymore, but besides that, was learning how to do a proper handshake. And that was the one thing that I've really
I didn't
taken
get that
forward.
one.
But,
Yeah,
it's kind of geared towards, I don't need to know who sailed the ocean blue in 1492.
exactly. I don't remember any of that. But, this is what I've seen within my own family is it won't happen to me. And, my
Yeah.
family story is like the nightmare of my business, but it's propelled me to go, okay, I'm going to use these tragedies because, it happened with everybody in my family because
Mm.
we're all healthy. We're going to live to 120. My daddy worked till he was 91.
Oh,
I've
wow.
never been sick, all of these different things, but it'll never happen to me, right? All of these what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. So that's the propulsion there for sure.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And something that you brought up that I really wanted to touch on is this idea of, will we have enough? Because I've had plenty of cash. I've had so much more than I needed to last for I don't even know how long. But that money mindset that I had was that of lack. So it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have anything to do with how much is in your bank account.
Right, right. And
It,
there's something about when you have a lot in there, there's this sort of endless thing where you start spending crazily or use credit cards and you get into this debt thing because it's like always there. And then
Mhm.
boom, look at this last week in an instant, the market in one day loses 1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
So like the baby boomers now are whoa, I'm going to have to work till I'm 100. That's, that's the energy of it. But the secrets are when you start young and there's tax-free income for life. I
Hmm.
mean, nobody really knows about this, but a few that you could start to contribute to, and you don't have to wait till you're 60 to retire.
So, I think you brought up something that's rather interesting is starting young. But
Yeah.
what about most of our viewers are, I'd say about 35 to 55 years old. And I'm not saying that that's not young. I'm just saying we're not 18 anymore. And what are some things that we could do now versus later, or something that we should look at now?
Well, to me, that's young. Okay.
I love
And
that.
right, because you've got, you plan to 100 or 120. And really, I'm serious. They're going to have all kinds of new inventions that might extend life, but it extends your consciousness when you think that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for example, what I was just talking about, the tax-free income for life. I found out at 58 and I was so mad. Like, why didn't anybody tell me this? Because I wouldn't have had to work so hard. And
Mm-hmm.
it's buried because when you turn on your cable TV, all you're gonna really hear about is the stock market and big pharma.
Yeah.
And the safe money things that we talk about are buried. So this tax-free income, let me use an example. I would say a kid at 38, right? He put what was it, $500 in a month, okay?
Mhm.
And then at his retirement, he was set to get 80 to $100,000 tax free for life.
Oh, wow.
Hello, that's millions of dollars with longevity. Plus, it has a cash part of it inside of it. It's called Index Universal Life, where you can literally, like realtors use it sometimes, where they build the cash, go flip a house, put the cash back, and they
Yeah.
still have the tax free income. But wait, there's more. There's a long term care, catastrophic illness protection. Because and it isn't an age thing, you don't have to be 100 to go and be ill, right? In the
No, you
crazy
don't.
world we're in now. But this protects your assets and lets you stay in your own home. And then you can literally take 2 to 4% of the death benefit tax free if you can't do your activities of daily living. So it's like it's just the best. As far as money goes, and number 3 is it's safe. You never lose your principal. So if the market goes up 5, you get 5. The market goes down 5, nothing happens. You're only catching the upside of the market, and your principal is right there.
Oh, wow. That sounds like magic.
It is. It really is, and it's been around. I mean, it's a hybrid. It's been around for a long time, and very few people know about it, and so that's why I'm broadcasting.
Oh, I love that. And so, how do people work with you? Because it seems like this is just, I mean, we've been on for less than 15 minutes and you've already dropped these knowledge bombs of things that we could be doing to improve our financial futures and rest easy while doing it. So, how does it
Yes.
look to like learn more?
Yes, rest easy for sure, and thank you because I just feel, I just wanna pour out as much as I can to help people, so you could literally hop on my calendar, which is meetwithkrismiller.com, KRIS Miller.com,
Oh, that's
and
nice.
we could do what's called the Financial Fitness Strategy Session. Now, as of this time, I'm doing it for free, complimentary. It's worth a couple $1,000s. And what I do is a quick call. I go ask you your age, your health, your wealth. Then I'll go research what I'm talking about that fits you and your age because it's not a one size fits all. And we'll have a Zoom call and I'll give you your own class and I'll show you how it works. And then I'll send it to you. So you're empowered, you have it, and then you can ask me questions and go from there.
I love that. I'm all about empowerment because,
Yeah.
as much as my students and people, my clients that I work with, I want them to want to work with me, not because they need to in order
Right.
to be better at whatever it is that they're trying to improve upon. So I've
Right.
always appreciated this idea of I'm here to help and here's what you can do. So,
Yes.
you're
That's
speaking my language.
that's the that's the money. When I just spoke at a women's event and there was, 150 women there and it was just meeting people. I mean, heart connections is my
Mhm.
money. And being able to help someone and say, "I need you in my life," right?
Yeah.
That is so fulfilling to me. To me, it's one of the greatest service I can do here on this planet. So I'm really grateful for that.
I love that. Oh, yes, exactly. And women empowerment. Most of our audience is women. So, gentlemen, we are definitely talking to you as well, but as females.
Well, we end up inheriting, it was like my mom and dad, my mommy had cancer and she was like, dad got sick. It was like, where's the checkbook? See, it's like disconnected. And so
Yeah.
when everybody knows what's going on, the
Yeah.
nice men that fall into this group too need to
Mhm.
learn the same thing. And I want to throw this in too. You guys that are younger that have kids, here's
Mhm.
something you never think about. Like when you're 20 and 30, you never think about when it's 40 and 50. 50, you don't think about when it's 60 and 80. And mom and dad go out to dinner and don't come back. Who's gonna take care of the kids?
Mhm.
Guardianship provisions, right? Living trust, very important to have. Just had to add that in there
No,
'cause
I think it's really important because you, Chris, don't know this, but my mom passed away when I was 14. I just turned
no.
14. And
Oh,
yeah, she was only 43. So, I mean, she was
oh,
so young
oh.
and she didn't have a will. And
Mm,
so here I am. My parents were divorced, but it's simple things like, and we didn't know if there was a will or not. We didn't know
right.
anything. Now she has a business I have to sell. I'm 14 years old.
Whoa,
There's all these certain things that, I
sheesh.
mean, her jewelry, what does she want with her stuff? I mean, there's
Right.
just so many things. And as a child,
Mm,
that's not something you ever want to put on your kid
no,
ever. But
no.
the nice thing is, and my dad is really smart in that respect. We've always had conversations through the years. What would you like when I die? And would you mind being the power of attorney? And all these questions, it
Right.
doesn't hurry up death. It just makes things
No.
easier when it does happen.
It's just being conscious and
Exactly.
thoughtful, like, "Look, I don't want, if I'm 120, I don't wanna just think that my friends or my husband or somebody's gonna take care of me." I mean, I'd like to have take the burden off of people
Yeah.
and then be able to live our lives. So that's
Yeah.
pretty incredible. At 14, you grew up fast, but this is
Yeah.
why, right? You had to grow up fast.
Yeah. No,
And
absolutely. And then there's my brother who was he had just turned 46 when he passed. So, and
ouch.
he had a kid. So he
Oh,
had actually three children, one by birth, but two
wow.
step. And so, these are things that, as somebody who's been on the receiving end, or been
Yeah,
the one that's left, it is
right.
so much better to take care of those people after you pass, by just in things like passwords.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the living trust is not just end of the life, because a good living trust has the power of attorney for healthcare. For example, look,
Oh,
I'm vegan. I don't want pharma. I want to do my medicine the way I do it. Okay,
yeah.
everybody's got their own little thing, and you want to make sure that your doctor has that healthcare ahead of time.
Mhm.
And then
Yes,
power of attorney. I could go skiing, break my leg. Who's going to pay the bills, right? Or take care of the business. So,
exactly. Yeah, I think that those are really important topics to really just sort of get ahead of. And
yeah.
even if you don't have kids, if you even have a significant other or not, who is going to help you in your time of need? And so, as somebody who's had to make decisions that were probably above my pay grade.
I would think so.
uh,
14 years old, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it would be nice not to have to guess. It would be,
right.
I mean, especially when you're talking about care of somebody who is not passed away.
Oh,
What
that's
do
so
you
hard.
want? Like, the people that are left are kind of in this traumatic situation, doing the best that they can, wanting to do what you want. But if you haven't specified and you don't have the power to say anything at that moment, are you getting what you want?
Oh,
So
I think I need to make a course on the grief part because it's so
yeah,
emotional.
it
Like,
is.
one of my family members did not have long-term care.
Mm,
Now I'm all set, and then they get sick, but they had never been sick in their life. They did yoga, they are vegetarian, everything
yeah.
was perfect, right? But for some reason they got sick. And I'm sure not gonna leave them alone, so I just had to stop my business for a year and make sure
Mhm.
that the care was there because they didn't have the plan. And it was it was so emotional. I
Mm,
don't regret it. I feel really good that I was there, and that was the best thing I probably did in my life, to be there for someone else. But if we would have planned ahead of time, then it would have been more comfortable for everybody. And I like to take the hard topics like death, taxes, inflation, and make it fun.
yes.
Imagine getting tax-free income for life. That's
Exactly,
fun.
exactly. See, you have to think about the positive things. If you're actually willing to look at, the lights are off and you see something in the corner, it
Right,
looks very intimidating. But as soon as you turn those lights on, you realize it's a coat rack. Then all of a
right,
sudden, same
exactly,
thing.
exactly. We got those warped out brains that
I
always
know,
they're
I
going
know.
to the negative, and it is a push to keep it up, right?
So I would love for you to share a story that about maybe a client or somebody that you helped that just really made a difference for them, because maybe you turn the light on and
Yeah.
help them see something that they couldn't see before.
Wow, a lot of thousands of clients. Some
Yeah.
couple, couple of people that come to mind that it's just an illustration. This particular man had $44 million in real estate, okay, and did not have a living trust.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, now for those that don't know, consolidated living trust is a legal document that keeps you out of the court system. But
Hmm.
if you don't have it, then everything that you have goes to probate, which takes attorneys, which takes money, which takes a lot of time. It's a
Hmm.
nightmare. And living trusts have been around since the Middle Ages. They're not new, right? So I think, what started me was I'm an LDA in California. So I'm like a hybrid paralegal. I do everything that attorneys do, but talk in court, although I sued two of them and one that didn't pay me. Anyway, but the point is I'm a document preparation service. So I have a picture ID with a state bar, and I prepare trusts for banks and people and all of that. And as a result of that, then I find out that people don't have catastrophic. And that's just 7 out of 10 of us over 65 end up in a nursing home. I
Mhm.
know it sounds sad, but if you take care of yourself and if you have the plan in place, you won't worry about it because I show people how to stay in your own home. You don't
Yeah.
wanna go to a nursing home, right? With
Well,
your own.
you bring up a really valid point, and that is kind of my father. He's 80, and but he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, but
Mhm.
he's had it for about 7 years. He's finally been diagnosed, but it's advanced. I mean, he can still walk, but it's advanced, and
Yeah,
there's a good chance he could very well end up in a nursing home. Or with some sort of person living downstairs helping my stepmom with him, or
right,
there's a lot of options, but it sure
right.
would be. I mean, it's not like he did something to make that happen. So
That's exactly what I was talking about.
yeah,
It's not gonna this assumption that it's not gonna happen to me, and
you never
my family didn't make it.
know.
They weren't bad people,
Yeah.
but they like my dad, he was a genius. Einstein was one of his teachers
Oh
and
wow.
really brilliant, and, you know, he actually, he made multi-millions, and he said, "Honey, you're gonna inherit $1,000,000." And I said, "Dad, I only want you." And I never expected money, but when my mom got sick and had the cancer for 10 years, w
Hmm.
her chemo was 90,000 for 5 days. For a year, $1,000,000 is not a lot of money.
No.
And so I said, "Dad, I never pushed anything. Maybe you wanna get a little, long-term care protection?"
Yeah.
"No, I'm never going to a nursing home. I'll walk out in the desert." "Sure, Dad, you're gonna walk out in the desert." But, all of my family, they literally told me, "Maybe you can share this with your clients." And I'm like, "Oh, no." 'Cause it meant that they were leaving, and as a result of this, it's coalesced now at this time. I have a rocket underneath me to share this with millions of people because this is what's missing. You're making this money and you're doing this thing with your business, but
Hmm.
you're not putting it in the right place. You're putting it in a Wall Street casino. Where's your 401k? Where's your IRA? In the Wall Street casino.
I love that, the Wall
Hello,
Street
right?
Casino.
So you gotta have some safe money, and then, like your dad, he couldn't qualify for long-term care, but there are other programs out there that aren't underwritten that will
No, but
double.
he could have had that before too, so,
I know, I know. I'm just saying we gotta work with what I've worked with people
Well,
at
it's a
90.
good indication that we should get that for my stepmom. She's healthy as
Ex
a horse now. You never know.
exactly.
You never know.
And there are annuities out there that double and triple the money for long-term care that are not underwritten. So
Mm,
you can
I
get
love that.
certain things that stretch the money out. And
Exactly.
and, it isn't like a one size fits all. Like my dad planned that he was gonna go first, but it
Mm,
didn't work out that way. And
nope.
he had right? Care this is in 2010 in Northern California, was 15,000 a month. Not
Jeez.
2010. And then my dad in 2016, when he fell and went to Stanford Hospital, never been sick in his life, and then got pneumonia, okay? I had to get care for him, and
Yeah.
this was I went on Craigslist. I wanted CNA, FBI approved, blah, 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 and that was
Mhm.
$10 an hour. That was $70,000 a year.
Yeah, it adds up. You just never know. We are almost out of time. We have
Oh,
about a minute left. So
okay.
I'm curious, as I ask most of my guests, I would love for you to tell us something that you wish that I had asked you. What would that be? The answer to that.
Well, it's more of a heartful thing that I do every morning when I get up and before I go to bed. That's helps me balance with all the things that are happening, right? Gratitude. And I know it's
Mm,
not a new thing, but it's an attitude that gives you a latitude, which means it does raise you above the noise. So when
mhm.
I wake up before my brain starts going about all my to-do list, I think of 5 things I'm grateful for and really feel it, right? And sometimes you may not be able to find something. Maybe it's just like you're warm and you have food and there's a bed, right? And then before I go to bed, I'll be thanking I'll be grateful for meeting you today and having this wonderful conversation. So gratitude
Oh,
is the attitude that gives you the latitude.
It does. And it also changes your brain chemistry so that you are thinking and seeing things differently and in a more positive light. It's the answers are
Exactly.
there.
Yep,
You just
that's
have to be able to
exactly
see
it.
them.
Exactly. Right.
Well, Kris, thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure. I adore you, your energy, and I am grateful for you. So
Oh,
thank you so much for being here
thank
today and
you.
sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having a beautiful conversation.
All right, everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We will be back again next week on Thursday, so join us then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week.